Okay, good morning, folks. It's Sarah Smith here for the Sarah Speaks podcast, and I'm down here at Aotea Square, just covering the Advanced New Zealand rally here at 12 o'clock, and we've got a special guest here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Tex. I'm part of the Himalayan New Zealand Association, and here's my fellows down the back. So we are the supporter of the global whistleblowers movement, which is disclosing truth about all the cunning plans behind the CCP's infiltration and all that. And also we are, of course, first of all, I'm a citizen of New Zealand, but also we are a citizen of the new federal state of China, which is the new political entity that just got announced at the 4th of June 2020. So we believe in freedom, we believe in the rule of law and democracy, freedom of speech and expression. So we are bringing a brand new, a new political entity, a new country to China. So they will no longer be under oppression of the Chinese Communist Party. They will be free from oppression and free from slavery, to be honest, because a lot of people like working days and nights for very little, and their profits being ripped off by very few people that's in control of the Chinese Communist Party. So yeah, that's a brief introduction of who we are.
Great. So when you're talking about the new federal state of China being announced on the 4th of June,
yes.
Was that to do with Steve Bannon?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
so
correct.
I saw that video. Could you explain a little bit about how that came about?
Yes, it was started, the whistleblowers movement was the, was the initiator of this whole thing. Now, the whistleblowers movement was started by Mr. Miles Guo, which he was a Chinese businessman that fled to the U.S. because of the prosecution he experienced from the Chinese Communist Party. So in 2017, he started to come to the front and come to disclose a lot of truth and evidence and stuff about the CCP and their tactics and their strategies. And yeah, so 3 years after, we get to a point. I think that's a natural outcome of the whistleblowers movement, and then a new federal state of China was announced, and it was announced before the Statue of Liberty in New York during lockdown with Steve Bannon, which was the former White House strategist.
Right, so what does that mean in practical terms for the Chinese people now?
In practical terms, we have a lot of supporters in mainland China, of course undercover. So what does that mean is, because we are the driving force behind all the U.S. moves and solid stance against the CCP, which is unprecedented. If you observe their policy and the steps they have taken in the previous months, 10 months, and this has never been seen before. I mean, for 2 decades or more, and you have never seen such thing like that. So we were the driving force behind that, and we helped them to defeat the Chinese Communist Party. So according to solid evidence and intelligence, we are seeing Chinese Communist Party to be taken down sometime between now and the end of next year. So it's fairly soon. Now Himalaya is a global network that connects all the overseas residents, Chinese residents across the globe, and we all unite together and we'll form a Himalaya Association to supervise the newly established government. So after the CCP, so monitor them, make sure they follow what's outlined in declaration, which is give the Chinese people rule of law, give them freedom, and give them democracy.
So just for anyone who thinks that the Chinese people who are standing up against the CCP, or even Hong Kong nationals,
yes,
are spoiled brats, because that's how they got described to me by another
spoiled brat.
Yeah, another Chinese person. So they seem to believe that wanting freedom is it's maybe a bit decadent, or I don't know, you're just wanting more than you deserve. So what is wrong with China at the moment, and why are these movements starting?
Yes, because I mean that's a universal value. That's the value that the West has enjoyed for the last few hundred years, right? I think the fundamental issue is a tyranny regime cannot coexist in harmony with the West and with the free world. You can see it with Hong Kong. I mean, they promised the Hong Kong people 50 years of freedom and democracy, of self-governing. But look at what Hong Kong has become after nearly 23 years, and they took them all away. And they brutally crushed down the freedom movement, which was merely asking for what the CCP has promised in the first place. During the John Declaration with the British government. And so all the empty promise, they were just seeking and asking for what they should have given. But they got brutally crushed down, and thousands, even tens of thousands, young people, beautiful young people, got killed and got raped and got thrown into concentration camp. I don't know, I mean, whoever says that's a spoiled brat, I would like to have a debate with him. I don't think he deserves freedom of speech, to be honest.
Yeah, and so bringing it back to here today, why are you here in Aotea Square today?
We're joining hands with Advance New Zealand because we've been in touch with Billy. As you might have seen Billy's speech outside of the consulate, expressing his support to the new federal state of China, because we believe that New Zealand cannot continue to partner with such a tyranny, probably the most brutal tyranny like in the 21st century, and they're coming down. Anytime they're coming down. So New Zealand needs to make a stance. If you look around, I mean, the global dynamics is changing. Like people around the world are standing up against CCP. Like US is standing up. Even our closest neighbor and ally, Australia, they've been standing up hard against the CCP. And major European country is standing up again as well. And today I saw the news that the European Council just pushing for a law to strengthen relationship with Taiwan and to strengthen trade with Taiwan instead of with communist China. So I think New Zealand needs to take a stance, and new federal state of China is a better alternative, much better alternative. We will trade with New Zealand. We are able to buy all the goods New Zealand produce, and also without any cash in mind, pretty much, because we share the same value as New Zealand.
And so also maybe it would be good to get clarity on what is the CCP doing in New Zealand, and what are the ties between communist China and New Zealand?
I think there are, because New Zealand is such a small economy, so but CCP is a huge one. So basically, they could use one strategy they use is called BGY. This strategy was implemented in the US and in a lot of countries. What that means is B stand for blue. It's a symbol for internet and media narratives. So basically, they founded a organization called United Front. United Front is to drive Western narratives and public opinions. That's why we see such a mess up in our mainstream media right now. And they are not for freedom of speech, I can tell you. And that's the B. That's the B part, yes. And G is gold. That is the financial buying power. So they influx a large capital into New Zealand and make New Zealand dependent on their contract. So we are not. How can I say? It's very hard for New Zealand to challenge them politically because we got grabbed in the neck economically. Right, and Y stand for yellow, and yellow means sex seduction. Anyone who had done business with China or traveled to China to do business, they would have tell you the same story. They would have experienced that temptation, and they use that sexual seduction to create handle for them to grasp on, to turn people, individuals, and organizations into puppets. Look at the WHO. Look at Tedros. I mean, this is a great example, and this is a global phenomenon. So it's not just New Zealand; it's happening everywhere in the world. So, like I said, their system is not compatible with the West. So what they need to do is they need to take over, they need to win. Otherwise, they will be overthrown.
Great. So what can people do to learn more about what it is you're doing or support you?
Okay, you can go on to War and Pandemic. That's Mr. Bannon's program. They're behind us. And also look up Mouse Squall. Of course, there are a lot of fake news about Mouse Squall out there. Look up gnews.org and also gtv.org, and you will find more information about us and about what's going on.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time today.
Excellent.
And I
Thank
hope you find success.
Thank you.